Hello and happy Friday. Welcome back to another episode of Findmypast Fridays. It's our live weekly show about family history and all things interesting to family historians. I think that's the most perfect I've ever got, that intro there, Max.
Oh, but then you ruined it by commenting.
I know. But yes, so hello again. It's me, Alex Cox. As usual, I'm joined off camera by Max, who is keeping an eye on all your comments. So you know the drill by now. Get involved. We're here to talk to you, not just at you. Send in your questions. Let us know where you're watching from. It's a gloriously sunny day in just outside the London office. Let us know what the weather's like. We always have fun with that.
Well, William Shaw's watching. It's sunny in Cumbria.
Nice to hear. I don't think it's going to last though in the UK. It looks like next week's going to get a little bit cloudy and overcast.
And also interesting to see, or very happy to see, Kevin Hunt's back after you called him Keith accidentally last week.
Sorry, Kevin.
Hello, Kevin. And Kevin's watching from Poole in Dorset.
Hello, Kevin. Yes, so I just want to add on that subject, actually, I just want to say a massive thanks to everyone who got involved last week. It was great to see the response we had to our TNA special with Audrey Collins, and also if Audrey's watching, huge thanks to Audrey, because I mean the pace at which she was getting through questions in the comments was extraordinary. So yeah, no, we had a great time doing that. As we mentioned last week, we've got loads more video footage which we'll show in future weeks. But no, it was good to see there's an appetite for that kind of thing. So watch this space. We will be doing more of the same in the future. So what are we talking about today? Well, we've got quite an exciting agenda. We've got two very, very exciting announcements to share with you today. One relates to a brand new search feature that we added to the site on Wednesday. You may have already spotted something about it already on our social media pages. And secondly, this week's Findmypast Fridays, of course it's Friday, which means new records, is a particularly good one, I think. We've added some very interesting and fascinating themed records to the site this week, so I will be talking to you about that very shortly. So,
also, I was just going to say one other extra exciting thing is that in the comments, make yourself known, George. We have George, who is one of our search product managers here at Findmypast, and that ties in very nicely with our question of the week, which is, how would you like to see hints and searching improved on Findmypast? So, very lucky you actually have one of the wizards or engineers behind
the masterminds behind this new
that's
search
the word I was
feature.
looking for. In the comments. So, hello George. If you have questions for George, then do submit them in the comments, and George will be there. He probably won't be able to get around to all of them.
No,
but he'll try his best.
And actually, it gets even better than that, because Max got George from our search team, and Estelle, another one of our search wizards, another one of our search wizards, to record a short video explaining this exciting new feature, which we will play for you very shortly. So, as Max said, George, one of the stars of our videos and one of the masterminds behind this new feature, is in the comments. So get your questions in, tell him what features you'd like to see in the future. Yeah, just get involved. I mean, I'm doing a lot of building up here. What is this new feature, I hear you ask? Well, we are very, very happy to introduce military hints. Yes, that is right. As of Wednesday, all Findmypast family trees are now hint against. It's over 89.4 million military records. And the reason this is such a significant update, I think, is just the sheer scope and scale of the records that are now hinted against. So I'm sure that many of you who've already used our family tree builder already know that our trees previously hinted against, they still do, against any record that falls into the census category, as well as births, marriages, deaths, and the 1939 register. But now, over 89.4 million military records are also joining that pool of records, which will automatically be sifted through as you add information to your family tree. So yeah, I mean, as I said, it is just the sheer scope and scale of the kind of information you're going to be presented with here, which makes this feature so great. I mean, it covers, the records hinted against cover 430 years of military history, not just in Britain, but also in Ireland, the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. So there really is something for everyone in there. There's not just our amazing collection of military service records, you know, covering all three branches of the British Armed Forces. You've got some really early military records in there, like muster rolls and militia rolls. I believe the earliest one we've got in there dates from 1508. So that gives you an idea of, you know, how far back these hints are going. So if you're watching from the US and you've got US military ancestors, We've got millions of draft and enlistment records covering both world wars, which are now hinted against, but also pension and service records from the US Civil War, from the Revolutionary Wars. We've also got, tons of embarkation rolls from Australia and New Zealand. Yeah, there really is something for everyone in there, but it's not just how many records are hinted against, it's the richness of these records as well. I'm a military history nerd. I love military family history, and I do think some of our military collections are some of the richest we've got on the site, so just by seeing one hint, say you click on a hint and it takes you to a military service record, where previously, just finding a census is great because it tells you where someone is and what they're doing at a specific point in history. You could click on a hint for a service record and you could find out, you could find out what your ancestor looked like. You can get a full physical description listing all their tattoos. You might find a character reference from a commanding officer. You might find their peacetime address, the names of their next of kin. So I think this might just be the best hinting update we've added yet. So yeah, I think that probably is enough from me describing how amazing they are. I think it's now time for George and Estelle to tell you how they actually work. And they had a lot of fun recording this video, I believe, didn't they, Max?
That's right. So before I press play on this though, keep getting your answers in for that question of the week. Alex is going to pop off while this video is playing. He's going to be looking through your comments that are coming through.
I am indeed.
And also, as promised in the description, we are going to be giving away a 1-month pro subscription, or Ultimate British and Irish if you're watching from the States. And we're going to do it live. It's going to be a quick fire question. We've never done this before.
Fingers on keys. Fingers on keys.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Fastest fingers first. So yeah, stick around for that. And yes, without further ado, we'll pass over to George and Estelle.
Cool.
Hi, I'm George.
Hi, I'm Estelle.
We're the search product managers.
So our job is to make it easy for you to find your ancestors in all of our historical records. George also has a secondary job. He makes the tea. He's very good at that.
And we're here today to announce our new feature, Military Hints.
So what we're going to do now is show you a tree and show you the military hints in action.
So although military records provide a lot of rich information, the reason we haven't provided hints on them before is that the transcribed data which is used to create hints is often only the name, year of birth and country. Therefore it's important that you view the image of the record to get any corroborating information from it that was not transcribed.
So in order to show you the richness of these records, we've created a family tree for Albert Ball. He was born in 1896 in Nottingham, and he was a World War I fighter pilot and England's leading flying ace. Among the medals he was awarded was the Victoria Cross and the Order of St George. So I've created a tree with Albert's details. I've added in his mum and his dad, and you can see that I'm getting the orange circles which indicate that we've got hints with our records. So I'm going to click through to view the hints that I've got for Albert.
And in this view of the hints, we're showing the list view. You can switch between grid view and list view. We know a lot of people like the grid view, but we've added some features to the list view, specifically so that you can sort by different things within it. So this is currently sorted by relevance, but you can also sort by event year to get them in chronological order, or the source, which is the particular record type. We think that this might be an easy way for you to review the hints that you've got and find the ones that you're most interested in.
So we're going to look at one of the hints for Albert. So it's the one that's third one down that really interests me, which is the British Royal Air Force officers service records. So I'm going to review the hint. So it's looking good so far. On the left hand side is the information in the transcript for the record, and on the right hand side is what's in my tree. So I can see that the date of birth is an exact match, so it's looking good, but I'm not going to accept it straight away. So I'm going to go through to this page, which these are the details that I can merge over. But just to be sure, what I'm going to do, and which I do all the time when I'm accepting hints, is I view the actual record. So there's a link at the top that says view transcript. So the transcript is the data that we have transcribed from the image. This is great, it's really helpful. It's giving me some information that I knew already, which helps me think, okay, this is probably Albert. It's really, really important that you view the actual image as well, because we don't transcribe everything. Some of these records, particularly with military records and the service records, are multiple pages, so we can't transcribe everything. So if you go through and view the image, this is going to hopefully help me make sure that I've got the right record. So this is the first page of Albert's service record. At the top I can see the details that we've transcribed, which are his name, his date of birth, but it's underneath, which is actually quite exciting. It tells me the name of the person to be informed of casualties. Now, from building the tree, I know that Albert's dad was also called Albert. And we can see here that the name of the person to be informed is an A. Ball. So this is starting to match what I know. On top of that, just across from there, it gives me his address. Now, this is some information that I didn't know. It also tells me the relationship is his father. So again, this is all starting to piece together. Family history is like a jigsaw, and it's starting to piece everything together for me to go, yeah, I think this could be the right person.
Is this also showing that he's got these medals, the Victoria Cross?
That's right.
Distinguished.
Yeah.
DSO, Distinguished
Service Order.
Thank you very much.
So below that then, it details all of his service. It tells me the squadrons that he served in, when he was in them. If we go towards the bottom, it tells me all about his appointments and his promotions. Now, you might think, wow, that's amazing, it's incredible, but actually there's more, because I can see an arrow which is taking me to the next related image. So again, when you're looking at these records, look out for this arrow, because that's really important. It's like a treasure trove, the service records.
Some of them have pages and pages of information, don't they?
They do, yeah, like 10 or 12 pages. It's fascinating. So this is the second page. And so when you scroll down, these are details. It's casualties, honours and rewards. So it tells me he was injured in 1917, he was missing in 1917, and then sadly it also tells us when he was killed in France. And then can you see all the details there of when he was awarded his medals?
Okay.
So yeah, so it is so important to have a look at these images and just see everything that's in there. And also, you know, you can print them off. We've got a little print icon at the bottom there, so you can print them off and take them away and show them to your family.
Cup of tea, Estelle.
Oh, that's lovely. Thanks, George. You do make a nice cup. Was it Yorkshire tea bags?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So there we have it. That's military hints for you.
Yeah, so of course, to get hints, you do need a tree. And so if you don't have a tree on Findmypast, it's super easy to create one, isn't it, George?
Yes, on the top of the screen, on the blue bar, there's a family tree button. You click on that. If you haven't got a tree, it will go straight into the adding a tree dialogue for you. We especially recommend that you use the tree function for capturing your research. You can have as many trees as you want. You can have, if you've got two people which have the same name, you're not quite sure which it is, building out the tree for each of them allows you to work out which is the right one, and then you can add all of those details across. Plus, we can do the work for you by giving you hints.
Yeah, and you know, we're continually working on our hints. We do try to make them as accurate as possible, and we'd love to know what you think. So please get in touch and let us know what you found.
Thank you very much.
Go. Thank you very much, George and Estelle. They did have great fun recording that video, and we've actually got some additional footage from that session that we're going to play at the end, so you want to stick around for that.
And you know what, call me suspicious, but I think maybe, just maybe, there wasn't any tea in those mugs.
Do you think they were props?
Possibly.
But yeah, don't forget, another massive thanks to George and Estelle. Don't forget, George is in the comments now, so if you do have any questions for him, it doesn't have to be about military hints, it can be a general search question. Do ask, you know, it's a great opportunity to have one of our search pros answer any queries you may have. And yeah, it's been great to see people sending in some of their recommendations. for what they'd like to see in the future. We've had some really great suggestions sent in. I'd like to say a special thank you to Chris Lang, who took the time to send in a very detailed summary of some of the things she'd like to see, and there's some really great suggestions in there. So one of the things Chris has suggested is that so while place of birth is not shown on all transcriptions, I know that place of birth is not shown on all transcriptions, but many do have this recorded on them, or at least country of birth. To be able to enter a place of birth, even if it's just a country, would be especially advantageous with common surnames. It really, really would. That is.
George, are you hearing this?
Yes, George. Yeah, you're hearing. So yeah, and as Max said, even if George isn't responding to your comments, if he doesn't have time, he'll definitely be seeing all these. So this feedback is very, very, very useful. Another observation Chris has made, which is another great one, is that many searches seem to show a preference to the location of the record rather than the place of birth. And this isn't always, sometimes it would be a lot more useful to have the place of birth as the key piece of information that's picked out. Say if you're searching for someone who was born in Kent, and you reference Kent, it may come back with the result of someone who was born in Coventry, but that record was originally made in Kent. So yeah, some very, very good suggestions from Chris. Thank you very much. He's also made some great ones around census searching and stuff like that. Also from William Shaw, one of our regular viewers, who said, add an option to search siblings' names on censuses. Would be useful when looking for people with the same surname in a small area. Yeah, you can search for householders, other household members. I get what you mean. So if you're looking for your ancestors' siblings who may have been living 3 or 4 streets down, yeah, that certainly could be an interesting feature to add. And Colleen O'Connor Garner's just said, I like this live concept. We're very pleased to hear that because we have great fun doing it. And Nick Hancock has asked, for the military hints and records, do you have any guidance on military acronyms and phrases that appear on the records? We definitely do in our blogs. Paul Nixon, our regular military expert who's always coming on, has definitely done some videos on military abbreviations. Actually, Nick, if you do want to learn more about that kind of thing, Paul has done some fantastic webinars on military records where he goes into incredible detail. So I would recommend heading over to our YouTube channel where all of our previous webinars can be found, and I believe there's 3 or 4 very good ones on military records on there. Max might even pop a link in the comments to our YouTube page.
Yeah, I will do that. And also we have started for the last few weeks putting up our Facebook Lives over on YouTube.
Yeah.
And Paul actually did a fantastic one a few weeks ago where he was actually looking at military photographs that people had sent in. And that's another really good way that you can get extra information that you might not think about just from analysing the uniform or the medals or even sometimes down to the way they stand and things like that.
Yeah, so I mean, we're really happy to see military hints rolled out. Let us know what other record sets you think, what other categories would be very beneficial to add to the hinting system. I'm particularly pleased to get military up because I love military records so much, and I also think it's very timely with this year being the final centenary of the First World War, the final centenary year of the First World War. Obviously Remembrance Day 2018 is going to be a big one, so anything we can do in the run up to that to help people uncover the careers and service histories of their military ancestors, we're going to do. So yeah, please have a play around with it. Let us know what you think. If you haven't created a tree with us yet, I fully recommend doing so because hints are going to keep on growing. Particularly if you're a beginner, that is one of the best ways of getting started because as you're adding information, we do all the hard work for you by automatically sifting through all these records, and the more information you add to your tree, the better hints you get as well. So if you have started a tree and you haven't visited it for a while, it might be worth going back and adding a few extra details and seeing what hints come through. But yes, thanks again to George and Estelle. We hope you enjoyed that and get your questions in for George. So now we've discussed our cool new feature, I think we've just got about enough time for me to talk about this week's new record releases.
Oh, and also remember we have a competition.
Oh, do you want to do? Should we ask the question now?
Give people time.
Yeah, I think it's time. Do I do? You can't hear if I do a drum roll because my mic's up here.
No, yeah. So everyone, get ready.
Get ready.
Fastest fingers first.
Prepare yourselves.
So the first correct answer we get to the following question will win a 1-month pro subscription, or if you're in the States, a Ultimate British and Irish, and that will be added onto your package if you already have a pro subscription, or if you don't, then obviously you can get that and you can choose when you have that month. So, without further ado, the question is, so I'm making Alex stand here like a The question is, so we all know that 1918 was a historic year for the suffrage movement, but in which year did women receive the vote on the same terms as men? So the question is, in which year did women receive the vote on the same terms as men? And yes, we are talking about the United Kingdom.
Yes, United Kingdom. So yeah, is it first come, first serve? Or we
Yep,
just
first in,
first correct answer
first.
we will be reading out at the end. So yeah, and that's to get a 1 month pro subscription, isn't it?
Oh, and Anita Moore's won.
Anita Moore, congratulations. That was quick.
Congratulations. Fantastic. Yes, the answer was 1928. And sorry to everyone that's missed out. I can see them all coming in now. It's amazing.
No.
But yeah, the year was actually 1928.
Well, congratulations, Anita. Send us a private message and we'll get you set up with your 1 month complimentary pro access.
And for anyone wondering, that was as a result of the Representation of the People Act of 1928.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I think
It's record time.
Oh, sorry. I was about to.
You're about to boot me off.
I was about to kick you off.
I've got to mention our release day because it's a big one. So I'm sure many of you enjoyed, as we did, watching Michelle Keegan trace her roots on Wednesday's episode of Who Do You Think You Are? Oh, actually, yeah, popular opinion time. What did you think of the episode? What were your thoughts? I thought it was very interesting. It was a lot of it was in Gibraltar and Italy, which was very interesting to see because we're normally so focused on English-speaking countries. But yeah, let us know what you think. Did you enjoy this episode? How did you think Michelle reacted? What were your top tips that you took away from watching it? And also, it was great to see our good pal Michaela Hume popping up in the episode, helping Michelle trace her Manchester roots in Manchester Central Library.
Michaela can also be found on our YouTube channel.
Michaela can also be found on our YouTube channel. She did a fantastic webinar, actually, when we launched Suffragette Records back in February, where she shared essential tips for tracing female ancestors. Mm-hmm. So if you enjoyed seeing Michaela in the episode, head over to YouTube and you can watch her webinar.
We can only assume that they got her the gig on Who Do You Think You Are based off
that's got to be it. That's got to be it, hasn't it? So very interesting episode, but I think the bit we got most excited about was the end of the episode where Michelle uncovered her family's ties to the suffragette movement, and those ties were twofold. So first off, she found that none other than Emmeline Pankhurst was the registrar on one of their ancestors' birth certificates. But I think even more interestingly, we found that her great-great-grandmother, Elizabeth Curwen, a working-class woman from Manchester, actually listed her occupation in the 1911 census as suffragist. And I'm sure many of you know as well that many census forms were spoiled by suffragettes and suffragists. Some would list their occupation as suffragist, whereas others would just scroll votes for women. And we actually wrote quite an interesting blog post about that a few years back, which we'll pop in the comments if you want to see a few more examples of that. But no, the reason we were really excited to see Michelle uncover suffragette roots was because it ties in very neatly, almost perfectly, with the records we've added this week. So the big second announcement, the one we're very happy about, is that the second phase of our landmark suffragettes collection has been released today. Yes, so an additional 22,000 records released in association with the National Archives have been added to our suffragette collection, which we initially released back in February to coincide with the 100th anniversary of the 1918 Representation of the People Act. But if you thought phase 1 was good, phase 2 is even better. So the reason this batch is very exciting is because all of the National Archives records we've added in this second batch have never before been digitised. They're all records that have never been available online before. So the only way people would have ever been able to see them would have been going down to the National Archives at Kew and reading these documents in the reading room. But now, these never before seen documents are freely available to search and explore only on Findmypast. I've got to get the exclusivity bit in there, haven't I? I really would recommend, even if you didn't have suffragette ancestors, I'd really recommend digging around because it's such a fascinating collection. It brings together the stories of women and men from all walks of life who supported the movement. It highlights the struggles of the movement's most ardent supporters, but also it's a great summary of the state's desperate attempts to contain the movement. And you find so many interesting things in there. You've got, detailed reports on conditions in prison. You've got eyewitness testimonies and personal accounts by suffragettes who were arrested. You've got watch lists of women who were being observed. But this second batch includes loads of really interesting stuff as well. So some of the highlights from phase 2 you'll find are things like really, some quite funny but very interesting photographs of male actors who are attempting to lampoon the suffragettes. There's also some very interesting arrest records that contain original fingerprints, fingerprints of suffragettes that the police took at the point of arrest. There's also some really interesting Home Office documents which show how much it actually cost the government and the taxpayer to police the movement. So there's one file in there which is, a summary of tax costs of prosecuting the Pankhurst. There's also one which talks about how much it's costing the taxpayer to police landmarks and institutions like art galleries that were at risk of suffragette atrocities, as they were called by the press of the day. Where women would go in and throw paint over paintings or slash paintings of naked women in and things like that. So yeah, really happy to have them up on the site. Very exciting and very timely, as this year is the year of remembering women's suffrage. But another nice crossover with Michelle's episode as well is not only have we added all these never before seen National Archives records, we've also retranscribed a load of 1911 census records, which were either down as blank forms, ones where they'd been spoilt, so there wasn't, the suffragettes had spoilt them, so they're also available in the collection now. But we've also added 1911 census records where women like Michelle's ancestor, Elizabeth Curwen, had listed either suffragette or suffragist as their occupation. So yeah, definitely worth taking a look in there today. And those aren't the only suffragette records we've released. We've also added over 58,000 new records and 14 brand new titles to our collection of suffragette newspapers. If you want a full list of all the titles we've added, check out the latest records section of our blog, because this week's Findmypast Fridays blog has a full list of all the titles we've added. And we've also added the Women's Suffragette Petition of 1866. So, quite a mouthful. Actually, no, it's not. Women's Suffrage Petition of 1866. No, it's an interesting little collection. It's about 1,500 names, transcript only, because the original petitions don't survive. Unfortunately, the original petition, which had everyone's signatures in, have been lost to history. But the list of names was printed by the supporters of this petition, and that's where we got these records from. So yeah, they'll list your ancestors' name and address basically. So not too much information, but the reason I wanted to mention this set is because it's very historically significant, because the petition of 1866 was the first ever mass petition for votes for women that was ever submitted to Parliament in Britain. And it was actually submitted to Parliament by none other than John Stuart Mill, the famous MP and moral philosopher. So if you find your ancestor's name on this petition, it effectively means they were responsible for the birth of the suffrage movement. They were there at its inception, so very, very cool.
Before it was cool.
Before it was cool, yeah, they were suffragettes before it was cool. So do check out our new suffragette records, and as I mentioned before, if you enjoyed watching Michaela Hume and Who Do You Think You Are, head over to our YouTube channel and watch her fantastic webinar. Let us know what you thought of the episode, and yeah, I think that's probably enough from me this weekend.
I've got one more question actually that came through from Kevin. I'll just read it out to you. It says, just checking military hints for a person on my tree now. It shows 2 medal cards, but with no birth location or DOB, I can't tie them to my relative. There's no other military info on him from family. Any other suggestions for tracking down his World War I record? Put you on the spot there, Alex.
No, yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you've already tried searching service records alone. Go to them through our A to Z of record search and type in British Army service records. You may not find him in there because a fairly good chunk of them were destroyed during the Second World War. They were burnt to cinders. So sadly, I was going to say burnt to smithereens. That's not a phrase, is it?
That's blown to smithereens.
Blown to smithereens. They kind of were blown to smithereens as well, I guess. So yeah, there's a good chance you might not find him, but it's certainly worth looking in service records. If he was killed, our collection of Commonwealth War Graves Commission records are a very good catch-all as well. They list practically everybody who was buried by the commission, so that might also be worth looking. But perhaps also newspapers. Our collection of newspapers are overwhelmingly local newspapers, and as a result, local newspapers were very big on reporting on local lads who'd been sent to the Western Front to fight. So you may even find photographs, you may find letters printed from home. So my suggestion would be check out service records, check out newspapers, and yeah, just keep digging really.
And also Williams got in touch to say, ask the regiments, the museums have some info in the diaries.
Yes, no, thank you, William. That is a fantastic That's a fantastic suggestion. If you're confident you know which regiment he served in, it's definitely worth contacting them, because they'll keep their own regimental histories. They may have his name listed down somewhere, even if he's not mentioned by name. You'll at least be able to get an idea of where the regiment was, and a rough idea of what kind of actions he may have been involved in, and which part of the war he was fighting in. And
then one final tip actually from Audrey Collins. Hello, Audrey.
Hello, Audrey.
Absent voters lists are very good for identifying a manned military unit if there's no surprise in the service records.
Yes, and that is another great one. So the absent voters list were a subset of our electoral registers. So obviously chaps who weren't at home to vote were recorded in these lists. And we do have a specific absent voter list collection, which you could also get to via our A to Z. So wow, I've been waffling on for half an hour now.
It's been 30 minutes, and I think 30 minutes should be our cut-off point each week. It's a nice thing to aim for. Yeah. Thank you very much for everyone that's been watching, everyone that's been commenting. Really fantastic. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up.
Even better, give us a share. We'll
share
love you forever.
And if you've got anyone that's interested in seeing a man in a black t-shirt talk with some very interesting family history discussions. And also thanks George, who's been in the comments. And finally, we had so much fun filming the video with Estelle and George that I thought I'd share a little bit of the making of.
Does George know about this?
George doesn't know about this, no. But it's right, it's not very long. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Hope you all have lovely weekends. So it's goodbye.
Enjoy our Suffragette records. If you find anything, let us know. Send an email in to testimonials@findmypast, or ask the expert at Findmypast, because we'd love to hear about any Suffragette discoveries you make. But yeah, without further ado, here's the blooper reel, and I will see you next week.
And also congratulations again to Anita Moore.
Yes, congratulations again to Anita.
And we might have another Fastest Fingers first competition in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I think we probably will.
Cool.
So bye from me, have lovely weekends, and enjoy the last bit.
So when you're looking in age before beauty.
Oh dear. I can't do that.
You can, just do it.
How? I need the first bit scripted.
Why?
Say I'm George.
Yeah. What? Hi, I'm George. Hi. No, I can't do that.
You can, you just done it.
What?
Tell them what you do.
Sorry. Hi, I'm George.
You know Richard Madeley is on my desk.
Oh yes, yeah, of course.
Enough, you're not Richard Madeley. Come on, relax, George, relax. Do you need a beer?
What am I doing?
I was about to talk and you talked over me.
No, but I was doing what he told us to do.
I know, I was going to do that.
Okay. Okay. Are you going to do that this time?
I am.
Oh, God. Hi, I'm George.
Hi, I'm Estelle.
And we are...
We're the